I used to think I knew exactly who I was. The kind of woman who valued loyalty, who believed in marriage, who could look herself in the mirror and know she had done the right thing even when life got hard. I grew up watching my parents weather storms together, thinking that was the blueprint for real love. I carried that belief into my own marriage, convinced that I would never be the kind of person who broke vows, who betrayed trust, who lived a double life. But it's astonishing how small cracks, left unattended, can grow into fault lines wide enough to swallow everything. When I first met my husband, I was 22, fresh out of college, unsure of who I was or what I wanted. He was steady, dependable, the kind of man you could bring home to your family without fear. He had a quiet charm, not flashy, not the life of the party, but solid in a way that felt like safety. At the time, safety was what I craved. He proposed 2 years later, and I said yes without hesitation. We built a life that looked perfect on the outside. House in the suburbs, dinners with friends, yearly vacations, holiday traditions. From the outside, no one would have suspected the loneliness creeping in behind the walls of our home. Over time, safety became routine. Routine became predictability. Predictability became boredom. I hate admitting that now, but it's the truth. We fell into patterns so rigid they might as well have been etched in stone. Monday was laundry night. Tuesday he worked late. Wednesday was grocery shopping. Thursday his gym session. Friday takeout and TV. We barely spoke beyond logistics. Bills, chores, plans. When we did talk, it was surface level. I'd tell him about my day, but his eyes would glaze over. He'd tell me about his work, but it all blurred together. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, we stopped being partners and became co-managers of a household. That's when I started noticing him. My boss. He was everything my husband wasn't. Confident, magnetic. The kind of man who could walk into a room and draw every gaze without saying a word. At first, I admired him from a distance. I told myself it was harmless, that I just respected his leadership. But admiration bled into something else. I found myself smiling more when he stopped by my desk, standing a little straighter when I knew he'd be around, wearing outfits that made me feel noticed. And he did notice. That was the dangerous part. It started with compliments, the kind you could brush off as professional courtesy. You're the backbone of this office. I don't know what I'd do without you. You always see things no one else catches. But there was a way he said it. A lingering look that lingered just a little too long. A tone that felt more intimate than it should have. Every word sank deeper because it filled a void my husband had long stopped noticing. At home, I was invisible. At work, I was seen. The first time we crossed the line, it was almost cinematic. Late night, just the two of us finishing up a big project. The office was quiet, empty, the hum of the air conditioner filling the silence. He leaned over my desk, his arm brushing against mine, and my breath caught. I looked up, and in his eyes, I saw the same tension that had been gnawing at me for months. Without a word, we kissed. It was hungry, reckless, and it felt like being lit on fire after years of cold. That kiss spiraled into something bigger. Long lunches that ended with us pressed against each other in the backseat of his car. Business trips that were really just excuses to spend nights in hotel rooms, stolen moments in his office with the door locked. Every time I told myself it was the last, and every time I went back. The thrill was addictive, the danger intoxicating. For the first time in years, I felt alive, desired, like a woman again instead of a ghost moving through her own marriage. But double lives always catch up to you. People notice. They whisper. I should have known the way his hand lingered on my shoulder during meetings. The way we always left the office at the same time. The way our messages pinged back and forth after hours. It was too obvious. Someone reported us to HR. I don't know who. Maybe a jealous coworker? Maybe someone who just hated seeing what we were doing. The day they called me into HR, my heart pounded so loudly I thought I might faint. They laid out the evidence, messages, calendar records, suspicious expense reports. I denied it at first. my voice shaking, my face burning with shame. But deep down, I knew the truth had already been written out in black and white. They suspended me pending investigation. I walked out of that office knowing my career was in ruins. What I didn't know was that they had already called my husband. When I got home that night, the look on his face told me everything. He had found out, and there was no escaping it. He didn't yell. He didn't cry. That almost hurt more. He just looked at me like I was a stranger. When I tried to speak, to explain, to beg, his voice was cold, flat. There's nothing you can say. He packed a bag that night. I begged him to stay, to at least talk it through. But he walked out the door without looking back. In the days that followed, he moved in with his brother. Within weeks, I was served divorce papers. He didn't want counseling, didn't want to hear apologies, didn't want explanations. To him, I was no longer his wife, just the woman who had betrayed him beyond forgiveness. I lost my marriage and my job almost simultaneously. HR terminated me officially after the investigation wrapped up. The industry is small, word spread quickly. No one wanted to hire me with the stain of scandal attached to my name. My boss? He came out fine, of course. Men like him always do. Maybe he got a stern warning, maybe not even that. He kept his job, his reputation, his family. Meanwhile, I lost everything. Now, months later, I sit in an apartment that feels more like a cell. The walls echo with silence. I scroll through old pictures of vacations, birthdays, anniversaries, trying to reconcile the woman smiling in those photos with the one staring back at me in the mirror now. I see my husband on social media sometimes, smiling, laughing, surrounded by friends, looking freer than he ever did with me. And it cuts deep, knowing that I destroyed the very stability I once craved, chasing a thrill that evaporated the moment it was exposed. I thought I was searching for passion, for validation, for something to make me feel alive again. What I found was ruin, humiliation, and regret so heavy it sits on my chest every night. I betrayed the one person who truly loved me, and in the end, I was left with nothing but the wreckage of my own choices. And the worst part is knowing that no matter how much time passes, no matter how many times I try to rebuild, I'll always carry the weight of being the woman who threw away everything for an affair that was never worth it.